Right now, as you watch this video, how many thoughts are running through your mind? Maybe you're thinking about something you said yesterday, or worrying about tomorrow, or replaying a conversation that hasn't even happened yet. Your body is here, but your mind is everywhere else. And the exhausting part, you can't seem to stop it. You lie down at night and your thoughts keep spinning. You wake up in the morning and the noise begins again. It's like living with a radio that never turns off. This mental exhaustion has a name. Buddha called it the monkey mind, a mind that jumps from thought to thought, from worry to worry, never resting, never still. And if you've been living like this for weeks, months, or even years, you already know the truth. Overthinking doesn't solve problems. It creates them. It steals your sleep. It drains your energy. It makes simple decisions feel impossible. And worst of all, it keeps you trapped in your own head while life passes by outside. But here's what most people don't realize. Overthinking is not a personality trait. It's not who you are. It's just a habit, and every habit can be changed. Buddhist teachings have guided people for thousands of years toward mental peace, not by forcing the mind to be quiet, but by understanding how it works and gently training it to let go. In this video, we're going to go deeper. If you watched part 1, you learned the foundation. Now, in part 2, we're going to explore the root causes of overthinking and, more importantly, the practical tools you can use today to quiet your mind and return to peace. This isn't about positive thinking. It's not about pretending everything is fine. This is about freedom, real freedom, the kind that comes when your mind no longer controls you. So take a deep breath. You're exactly where you need to be. And for the next 2 hours, let's walk this path together. Let's begin. Understanding the overthinking mind. Before we can stop overthinking, we need to understand what it actually is, because most people confuse thinking with overthinking, and that confusion keeps them stuck. Thinking is natural. Thinking is useful. Your mind is designed to think, to solve problems, to plan, to remember. When you use your mind with intention, when you think about something, and then move on, that's healthy thinking. That's your mind doing its job. But overthinking is different. Overthinking is when your mind takes a small thought and turns it into a storm. It's when you replay the same situation 50 times, analyzing every word, every detail, every possibility. It's when you lie awake at night, not because something bad is happening, but because your mind won't stop imagining what could happen. Overthinking is thinking without purpose. It's mental activity that doesn't lead anywhere except deeper into worry, doubt, and exhaustion. And here's the painful truth. Overthinking doesn't protect you. It doesn't prepare you. It just drains you. From a Buddhist perspective, overthinking is a form of suffering we create ourselves. Buddha taught that most of our pain doesn't come from life itself. It comes from how our mind reacts to life. And overthinking is one of the clearest examples of this. When something difficult happens, your mind doesn't just experience it once. It experiences it again and again. You replay the moment. You ask yourself why it happened. You imagine how it could have been different. You predict all the terrible things that might happen next. And every time you do this, you're not healing, you're not solving, you're just reliving the pain over and over, as if watching the same sad movie on repeat. The mind does this because it believes it's helping. It thinks that if it analyzes enough, if it worries enough, if it prepares for every worst-case scenario, then somehow you'll be safe. But that's an illusion. You cannot think your way into feeling safe. Safety comes from presence, not from prediction. Let me give you an example. Imagine you sent a message to someone you care about, and they haven't replied yet. A healthy mind might think, they're probably busy, I'll hear from them later, and then it moves on. But an overthinking mind, it doesn't stop there. It starts creating stories. Maybe they're upset with me. Did I say something wrong? What if they don't want to talk to me anymore? What if I ruined everything? And suddenly, you're not just waiting for a reply. You're anxious. Your chest feels tight. You check your phone every few minutes. You replay your last conversation, searching for mistakes. You imagine terrible outcomes that haven't happened and may never happen. All of this suffering, and the only real fact you have is this: they haven't replied yet. That's it. Everything else is a story your mind created. This is what overthinking does. It takes a neutral moment and fills it with fear, doubt, and imagined disaster. And the more you feed these thoughts, the stronger they become. Now, why does the mind keep doing this? Why does it repeat the same thoughts, even when they cause pain? Buddhism teaches that the mind is like a wheel that keeps turning. Once a thought pattern starts, it builds momentum. Your mind gets used to worrying. It gets used to analyzing. It becomes a habit, a loop that runs automatically in the background of your life. And just like any habit, the more you practice it, the stronger it gets. If you've been overthinking for years, your mind has become an expert at it. It doesn't even need a reason anymore. It just starts spinning the moment there's silence, the moment there's uncertainty, the moment there's space. But here's the good news. If overthinking is a habit, then it can be unlearned. Just like you trained your mind to overthink, you can train it to let go. You can teach it to rest. You can guide it back to stillness. The first step is simply recognizing the difference between useful thinking and useless mental noise. Ask yourself, is this thought helping me take action, or is it just making me feel worse? If the answer is that it's making you feel worse, and you've already thought about it 10 times before, then it's overthinking. It's not wisdom, it's not preparation, it's just your mind stuck in a loop. And once you see that clearly, you can begin to step back. You don't have to fight the thoughts. You don't have to force them away. You just stop feeding them. You stop believing that if you think harder, longer, or deeper, you'll finally find peace. Because the truth is, peace doesn't live at the end of your thoughts. Peace lives in the silence between them. Buddha taught that the mind, when left untrained, will wander. It will create problems where there are none. It will turn small worries into giant fears. But when you bring awareness to your thinking, when you start to observe your thoughts instead of being lost inside them, something begins to shift. You realize, I am not my thoughts. I am the one noticing them. And that simple realization is the beginning of freedom. Because if you are not your thoughts, then you don't have to believe everything they say. You don't have to follow every fear. You don't have to obey every worry. You can choose. You can pause. You can breathe. And you can gently bring your mind back to what is real, what is here, what is now. Overthinking creates suffering, not solutions. It keeps you trapped in your head, disconnected from life, exhausted by battles that exist only in your imagination. But you were not meant to live this way. Your mind was meant to serve you, not imprison you. And with understanding, with practice, with patience, you can break free. This is not about becoming someone who never thinks. It's about becoming someone who thinks with clarity, purpose, and peace. Someone who knows when to engage the mind and when to simply let it rest. And that journey begins right here, right now, with one simple truth. You are more than the noise in your head. The root causes of overthinking. Now that we understand what overthinking is, let's go deeper. Let's explore why it happens. Because if you want to stop overthinking, you need to understand where it comes from. You need to see the roots beneath the surface. Buddhist wisdom teaches us that nothing happens without a cause. Every pattern, every habit, every form of suffering has a root. And when you understand the root, you can finally begin to heal. So let's look at the 5 main causes of overthinking, the hidden forces that keep your mind spinning even when you desperately want it to stop. The first root, attachment to outcomes. One of the deepest teachings in Buddhism is about attachment. We suffer not because we care, but because we cling. We become attached to how we want things to be, and when reality doesn't match our expectations, the mind goes into overdrive. You want a relationship to work out a certain way. You want a job interview to go perfectly. You want people to respond to you in a specific manner, and when there's uncertainty, when you can't control the outcome, your mind starts spinning. It asks, what if it doesn't work out? What if I fail? What if I lose what I care about? And every question leads to another and another until you're trapped in an endless loop of worry. This happens because deep down you believe that your peace depends on things going your way. You've made your happiness conditional. And conditional happiness is fragile. It lives in constant fear because life is unpredictable. Buddhist teachings remind us, let go of the outcome but not the effort. Do your best. Show up fully. Give your energy to what matters. But then release your grip on how it must turn out. Because the tighter you hold, the more you suffer. And the more you suffer, the more your mind overthinks, trying desperately to control what was never yours to control in the first place. The second root, fear of making wrong decisions. How much time have you lost overthinking decisions? Small ones, big ones, decisions that don't even matter in the long run. Should I say this or stay quiet? Should I choose this path or that one? What if I make the wrong choice? What if I regret it later? This fear paralyzes people. It keeps them stuck, unable to move forward, replaying options over and over as if thinking longer will somehow guarantee the perfect outcome. But here's the truth. There is no perfect decision. Life doesn't work that way. Every choice leads somewhere. Some paths are easier, some are harder, but none of them are guaranteed to be mistake-free. Buddhism teaches us that clinging to the idea of a perfect choice is another form of suffering. Because perfectionism is rooted in fear. It's the mind saying, if I just think hard enough, I can avoid all pain, all difficulty, all regret. But you can't. And trying to do so only creates more pain. The wise approach is to make decisions with the information you have, trust yourself, and then let go. If the decision leads to difficulty, you'll learn. If it leads to growth, you'll benefit. Either way, you'll be okay. Overthinking decisions doesn't make them better, it just delays your life. The third root, living in past regrets. Your mind has an incredible ability to hold on to the past. It can replay a conversation from 5 years ago as if it happened yesterday. It can remind you of every mistake, every embarrassment, every moment you wish you could change. And when your mind does this repeatedly, it becomes a prison. You're no longer living in the present. You're living in the past, reliving old pain, punishing yourself for things that are already over. Buddhism teaches that the past is gone. It exists only as a memory. You cannot change it no matter how much you think about it. The only thing you can do is learn from it and move forward. But overthinking doesn't let you move forward. It keeps you stuck, asking the same painful questions. Why did I do that? Why didn't I see it coming? How could I have been so foolish? And every time you ask these questions, you're not healing, you're reopening the wound. The path to freedom is forgiveness, not just forgiving others, but forgiving yourself. Accepting that you were doing the best you could with the awareness you had at that time, and understanding that holding on to regret doesn't honor the past, it only steals your present. Let the past rest. It has already taught you what it came to teach. The fourth root, trying to predict and control the future. The future is uncertain, and for many people, uncertainty feels unbearable. So the mind tries to fix it. It tries to predict every possible outcome, prepare for every scenario, control every detail before it even happens. You imagine conversations that haven't occurred. You plan for disasters that may never come. You worry about problems that don't exist yet, as if worrying will somehow prevent them. But this is exhausting, and it's also impossible. Buddha taught that trying to control the future is like trying to hold water in your hands. The tighter you squeeze, the more it slips away. The future will unfold in its own way, no matter how much you overthink it. And here's what most people don't realize. The more you try to predict the future, the less present you are. You miss the life that's happening right now because you're too busy worrying about the life that hasn't arrived yet. True peace comes not from controlling the future, but from trusting it. Trusting that you have the strength to handle whatever comes. Trusting that life, even with its uncertainty, is not your enemy. When you stop trying to control everything, your mind finally gets to rest, because it no longer has the impossible job of managing a future that doesn't exist yet. The fifth root, the ego's need to figure everything out. The ego loves to feel in control. It loves to feel like it has all the answers, like it understands everything. And when it doesn't, it panics. It starts overthinking, trying desperately to figure things out, to make sense of confusion, to solve the unsolvable. But not everything needs to be figured out. Not everything needs to be understood right now. Some things simply need time. Some things need space. Some things reveal themselves only when you stop forcing clarity and allow life to unfold. Buddhism teaches the wisdom of not knowing. There's a deep peace that comes when you can say, "I don't know," and that's okay. Because the truth is, you don't need to have all the answers to live a good life. You don't need to understand everything to be at peace. Sometimes, the wisest thing you can do is admit that you don't know, and trust that clarity will come when it's meant to. The ego hates this. It wants control, certainty, answers. But the soul, the deeper part of you, knows better. It knows that peace isn't found in having all the answers. It's found in being okay without them, bringing it all together. These 5 roots, attachment to outcomes, fear of wrong decisions, living in past regrets, trying to control the future, and the ego's need to figure everything out. These are the hidden forces behind overthinking. When you start to recognize them in your own life, something powerful happens. You stop blaming yourself. You stop thinking something is wrong with you. You simply see, oh, this is what's happening. This is why my mind won't stop. And once you see the root, you can begin to pull it out, not with force, not with judgment, but with awareness, patience, and compassion. Because overthinking isn't your fault, but healing it, that's your responsibility. And that healing begins the moment you understand where it comes from. The monkey mind, Buddhist wisdom. There's a beautiful teaching in Buddhism that describes the untrained mind. It's called the monkey mind. And once you understand this metaphor, you'll see your own thoughts in a completely new way. Imagine a monkey sitting in a tree. It doesn't stay still. It jumps from one branch to another. It swings, it climbs, it moves constantly, grabbing at fruit, looking around, never resting. One moment it's here, the next moment it's somewhere else. It's restless. It's scattered. It can't stay in one place. This is exactly what your mind does when it's untrained. It jumps from thought to thought. One moment you're thinking about work. The next moment you're remembering something from yesterday. Then you're worrying about tomorrow. Then you're thinking about what someone said to you last week. Then you're planning dinner. Then you're feeling anxious about something that hasn't even happened. Jump, jump, jump. Never still. Never at peace. Buddha recognized this pattern over 2,000 years ago. He saw that the human mind in its natural state is wild. It doesn't obey you. It doesn't listen. It does whatever it wants, whenever it wants. And if you're not aware of this, you become a prisoner to your own thoughts. You think you're in control, but you're not. The monkey is in control, and the monkey is chaos. Why your thoughts jump from branch to branch? The monkey mind doesn't jump randomly. There's a pattern, and understanding this pattern is the key to calming it. Your mind jumps because it's always searching. It's searching for safety. It's searching for answers. It's trying to protect you from danger, even when there is no danger. It's trying to solve problems, even when there's nothing to solve right now. This is the survival instinct of the mind. In ancient times, when humans faced real physical threats, this constant alertness kept people alive. The mind that could predict danger, remember past mistakes, and plan ahead had a better chance of survival. But today, most of us don't face life or death situations every day. We're not running from wild animals. We're not hunting for food in the jungle. And yet the mind still operates as if we are. It treats a difficult conversation like a threat. It treats uncertainty like danger. It treats a mistake like a disaster. And so it keeps jumping, keeps searching, keeps spinning, trying to protect you from problems that mostly exist only in your imagination. The monkey mind also jumps because it's bored with stillness. It doesn't know how to rest. Silence feels uncomfortable. Emptiness feels scary. So the mind fills every quiet moment with noise, with thoughts, with worries, with distractions. This is why so many people can't sit still. They need music. They need their phone. They need something to occupy the mind. Because when the external noise stops, the internal noise becomes loud, and the monkey starts jumping faster. The illusion that more thinking brings more clarity. Here's one of the biggest traps of the monkey mind. It convinces you that if you just think a little more, analyze a little deeper, worry a little harder, then finally you'll have clarity. Finally, you'll have peace. But this is a lie. More thinking doesn't bring clarity. It brings confusion. Because the monkey mind doesn't think in straight lines. It thinks in circles. It asks the same questions over and over. It revisits the same fears again and again. It replays the same scenarios without ever reaching a conclusion. You've experienced this, haven't you? You lie in bed at night, thinking about a problem. You analyze it from every angle. You go over every detail. And after an hour, 2 hours, you're no closer to an answer. You're just more exhausted. That's because the monkey mind doesn't solve problems. It creates more of them. Real clarity doesn't come from more thinking. It comes from less thinking. It comes from stillness. It comes from stepping back, quieting the noise, and allowing wisdom to rise naturally from the silence within you. Buddha taught that the answers you're looking for are not found by chasing thoughts. They're found by letting thoughts settle, like mud settling at the bottom of a clear pond. When the water is still, you can finally see clearly. But when the monkey keeps jumping, the water stays disturbed, and you see nothing but confusion. The untrained mind versus the trained mind. The good news is this: the monkey mind is not permanent. It's just untrained. And anything that is untrained can be trained. Think of it like a wild horse. When a horse is wild, it runs wherever it wants. It doesn't listen. It can't be ridden. But with patience, with gentle training, that same horse can become calm, focused, obedient. Your mind is the same. Right now it might feel wild and uncontrollable, but with practice, it can become still. It can become peaceful. It can learn to rest. This is what meditation is for. This is what mindfulness is for. Not to stop thoughts completely. That's not the goal. The goal is to train the mind so that it no longer controls you, so that you can observe the monkey jumping without being pulled along with it. When you practice mindfulness, you begin to notice, oh, there's a thought. Now there's another one. Now my mind is worrying about tomorrow. And instead of getting lost in those thoughts, instead of believing them, instead of letting them take you on a wild ride, you simply watch. You stay grounded. You stay present. And slowly, over time, the monkey gets tired. It realizes that you're not playing its game anymore. You're not chasing every thought. You're not feeding every fear. And so it begins to calm down. The branches are still there. The thoughts are still there. but you're no longer jumping with them. You're sitting peacefully at the base of the tree, watching the monkey do its thing, knowing that you don't have to follow. This is freedom. Not the absence of thoughts, but the ability to choose which ones deserve your attention and which ones can simply pass by like clouds in the sky. You are not the monkey. Here's the most important truth of all. You are not the monkey. You are the observer of the monkey. The thoughts are not you. The worries are not you. The restless mind is not who you truly are. You are the awareness behind it all. The calm presence that exists even when the mind is loud. And once you realize this, everything changes. Because now you know, no matter how wild the monkey gets, you remain untouched, you remain whole, you remain free, breaking the overthinking cycle. Understanding overthinking is powerful, but understanding alone doesn't set you free. You need tools, you need practices, you need a way to interrupt the cycle when it starts, before it pulls you under. This section is about action. It's about giving you practical steps you can use today, right now, to break free from the loop of endless thoughts. Because overthinking is a cycle. It has a beginning, a middle, and if you let it, it has no end. But when you learn to catch it early, when you learn to interrupt it with awareness, you take your power back. Let's walk through this together, step by step. Step 1. Recognize when you're stuck in a loop. The first and most important step is simply noticing. You can't change what you're not aware of, and most people spend hours, even days, overthinking without realizing they're doing it. So start here. Pay attention to your mind. Notice when you're thinking about the same thing for the third, fourth, fifth time. Notice when your thoughts are going in circles, asking the same questions without finding answers. Notice when your body feels tense, your chest feels tight, and your breathing becomes shallow. These are signs. Your mind is stuck. You're no longer thinking productively. You've entered the overthinking zone. And the moment you notice this, say it to yourself quietly, I'm overthinking right now. That's it. Don't judge yourself. Don't feel bad about it. Just name it. Because when you name what's happening, you create a small gap between you and the thought. You step back, even if just for a second. And in that gap, you have a choice. You can continue the cycle, or you can choose to interrupt it. Step 2. The power of naming your thoughts. Buddhist practice teaches something beautiful called mental noting. It's simple, but incredibly effective. Whenever a thought appears, instead of getting lost in it, you simply label it. If a worry comes up, you quietly say to yourself, worrying. If your mind is replaying the past, you note, remembering. If you're imagining something in the future, you say, planning or imagining. You're not pushing the thought away. You're not fighting it. You're just acknowledging it for what it is. A thought, a mental event. Not a fact, not reality. Just a thought passing through. This practice does something powerful. It removes the emotional charge from the thought. When you label a worry as worrying, it loses some of its grip on you. It becomes less personal, less urgent, less real. And the more you practice this, the easier it becomes to stay grounded, even when your mind wants to spiral. For example, let's say you're thinking about a conversation you had earlier, and your mind starts saying, why did I say that? They probably think I'm stupid. What if they don't want to talk to me anymore? Instead of diving into that story, you pause, you notice, and you mentally note, judging myself, creating a story, worrying about opinions, and just like that, you're no longer drowning in the thoughts. You're observing them. You've stepped out of the river and onto the shore. Step 3. Catching yourself before the spiral begins. Overthinking doesn't start at full speed. It begins small. One thought, one question, one what if. And if you catch it there, in the beginning, you can stop the cycle before it turns into a storm. This requires awareness. It requires you to be present with yourself throughout the day, checking in with your mind the way you'd check in with a friend. Ask yourself, what am I thinking about right now? Is this thought useful, or is it just noise? Am I solving something, or am I just spinning? If the thought is useful, if it leads to action, to clarity, to a decision, then give it your attention. But if it's just your mind rehashing the same worry for the 10th time, then let it go, gently, without force, without frustration. Just let it pass, the way you'd let a cloud pass across the sky. One powerful way to catch yourself early is to notice the body, because overthinking doesn't just happen in your head, it shows up in your body too. Your shoulders get tense, your jaw clenches, your stomach feels tight, your breathing becomes shallow and fast. These are warning signs. Your body is telling you, we're going into overthinking mode. And when you notice these signs, you can stop. You can take a deep breath. You can relax your shoulders. You can bring yourself back to the present moment before your mind takes you too far. Step 4. Creating space between thought and reaction. One of the most freeing realizations in Buddhist practice is this: you don't have to react to every thought. Just because a thought appears doesn't mean you need to believe it, follow it, or let it control your emotions. There is space between a thought and your reaction to it, and in that space you have freedom. Most people react instantly. A fearful thought comes, and immediately they feel afraid. A critical thought appears, and instantly they feel bad about themselves. A worried thought shows up, and right away they start imagining the worst. But you can train yourself to pause, to create a breath of space between the thought and the emotion. When a thought comes, instead of immediately reacting, you can pause and ask, is this thought true? Is it helpful? Does it deserve my energy right now? And often, the answer is no. The thought is just an old pattern, a habit, a reflex from the monkey mind. And you don't have to follow it. This doesn't mean you ignore real problems or dismiss important feelings. It means you stop letting every random, fearful or negative thought hijack your peace. You become selective. You become wise. You learn to say, thank you, mind, but I don't need to go down this road right now. And then you gently return to the present moment. Step 5. Return to the present, again and again. Breaking the overthinking cycle is not a one-time event. It's a practice, a daily, moment-by-moment practice of returning. Your mind will wander. That's what minds do. It will drift into the past, into the future, into worry, into fear. And that's okay. That's normal. The practice is not to stop the wandering. The practice is to notice when it happens and gently bring yourself back to your breath, back to your body, back to this moment right here, right now. Because overthinking only exists when you leave the present. It cannot survive in the now. Worry lives in the future. Regret lives in the past. But peace lives here. So every time you catch yourself overthinking, you have one simple job. Return. Return to the sensation of breathing. Return to the feeling of your feet on the ground. Return to the sounds around you. Return to what is real, not what your mind is imagining. And each time you return, you're training your mind, you're teaching it that it doesn't have to stay lost in thought. You're showing it that there's another way to be. This is the beginning of freedom. Breaking the overthinking cycle is not about perfection. You won't catch every thought. You won't stop every spiral, and that's okay. What matters is that you're becoming aware. You're learning to recognize the patterns. You're creating space between yourself and your thoughts. You're practicing the gentle return to presence. And over time, this practice changes everything. The thoughts still come, but they don't control you the way they used to. The worries still appear, but they don't consume you. The mind still wanders, but you know how to bring it home. And in that knowing, in that gentle, patient practice of returning again and again, you find something precious, the freedom to live your life without being trapped in your own head. This is not a destination, it's a path, and every step you take on this path brings you closer to peace. Practical tools to stop overthinking. Now we move from understanding to practice, from knowledge to action. Because the truth is, you can understand overthinking perfectly, but if you don't have tools to work with it in real moments, when your mind is spinning and your chest is tight, then understanding alone won't set you free. This section gives you 6 practical tools, simple, effective practices that you can use today, right now, whenever overthinking takes hold. These aren't theories. These are methods that have helped millions of people find peace, drawn from Buddhist wisdom and proven by time. Let's begin. Tool 1. Breath awareness. When the mind races, the breath is the most powerful tool you have. It's always with you. It costs nothing. And it has the ability to calm your entire nervous system in just a few minutes. When your mind is racing, when thoughts are coming fast and chaotic, your breathing changes. It becomes shallow, quick, tight. You're breathing from your chest instead of your belly, and this shallow breathing sends a signal to your brain. Something is wrong. We're in danger. And your brain responds by creating more anxious thoughts, which makes your breathing worse, which creates more thoughts. It's a cycle, but you can break it right now. Here's how. Stop whatever you're doing. Place one hand on your chest and one hand on your belly. Close your eyes if you can, or soften your gaze if you're in public. Now, breathe in slowly through your nose for a count of 4. Feel your belly rise, not your chest. Hold the breath gently for a count of 4. Then breathe out slowly through your mouth for a count of 6. Do this 5 times, just 5 breaths. What you're doing is simple but profound. You're telling your nervous system, we are safe, there is no emergency. We can slow down. And when your body calms, your mind follows. The racing thoughts begin to slow. The panic loosens its grip. You create space to think clearly again. This is not about stopping your thoughts. It's about calming the storm so you can see through it. Use this tool anytime, anywhere. In a meeting, before bed, in your car, on a walk. Whenever you feel overthinking pulling you under, return to your breath. It is your anchor. Tool 2, the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 grounding method. Overthinking pulls you out of the present moment. It takes you into your head, into imagined futures and replayed pasts. And the fastest way to stop it is to ground yourself back into your body, back into reality, back into now. The 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method is incredibly effective for this. Here's how it works. Look around you and name 5 things you can see. Say them out loud or in your mind. I see a chair. I see a window. I see my hands. I see a cup. I see a tree. Now name 4 things you can physically feel. I feel my feet on the floor. I feel the fabric of my shirt. I feel the weight of my body in this chair. Next, name 3 things you can hear. I hear traffic outside. I hear my own breathing. I hear a bird singing. Then name 2 things you can smell. If you can't smell anything right now, name 2 smells you like. I smell coffee. I smell fresh air. Finally, name 1 thing you can taste. Or imagine a taste you enjoy. I taste the water I just drank. That's it. This simple exercise pulls your attention away from your thoughts and brings it into your senses, into the present, into reality. And overthinking cannot survive in reality. It only thrives in imagination. This tool is especially helpful during anxiety attacks, panic moments, or when you feel completely lost in your head and need to come back to earth quickly. Tool 3. Walking meditation for busy minds. Not everyone can sit still and meditate, and that's okay. Buddhism offers many forms of meditation, and one of the most helpful for overthinking is walking meditation. This is not about walking to get somewhere. It's about walking to be somewhere, to be present, to be grounded. Here's how to practice it. Find a quiet place where you can walk slowly without distraction. It can be in your home, in a garden, in a park, anywhere you feel safe. Begin walking very slowly, much slower than normal. As you walk, bring all your attention to the sensation of walking. Feel your foot lifting off the ground. Feel it moving through the air. Feel it touching down again. Notice the shift of weight from one leg to the other. Feel the movement of your body, the swing of your arms, the rhythm of your steps. If thoughts come, and they will, don't fight them. Just notice them and gently bring your attention back to the sensation of walking. Lifting, moving, placing, shifting. You can even say these words silently to yourself as you walk. It helps keep your mind focused on the body instead of drifting into thought. Walk like this for 10 minutes, or 5. Even 3 minutes can help. What this practice does is powerful. It trains your mind to focus on one thing at a time. It teaches you that you don't have to think constantly. You can simply be, simply walk, simply exist in this moment without needing to solve, plan, or worry. And the more you practice this, the easier it becomes to bring that same focus into the rest of your life. Tool 4. Writing practice. Getting thoughts out of your head. Sometimes the best way to stop overthinking is to get the thoughts out, to put them on paper where you can see them clearly instead of letting them spin endlessly in your mind. This is called a brain dump, and it's incredibly freeing. Here's how. Take a blank piece of paper or open a blank document on your phone. Set a timer for 10 minutes. Now write. Write everything that's in your head. Every worry, every fear, every question, every thought that won't leave you alone. Don't edit. Don't organize. Don't try to make it make sense. Just let it pour out. I'm worried about money. I don't know if I made the right choice. I'm scared of failing. I keep thinking about what they said. I can't stop wondering what will happen next. Write it all down. Everything. When the timer goes off, stop. Take a breath. Now read what you wrote. You'll notice something interesting. When the thoughts are on paper, they lose their power. They look smaller, less scary, more manageable. Many of the thoughts are repetitive. Many are irrational. Many are not even real problems, just fears. And now that they're outside of you, you can see them clearly. You can decide which ones deserve your attention and which ones you can simply let go. This practice creates distance. It helps you realize these are just thoughts. They're not facts, and I don't have to carry them all. Do this whenever your mind feels too full, too heavy, too loud. Write it down, get it out, and then let it go. Tool 5. The Worry Time Technique. This might sound strange, but it works. Instead of trying to stop worrying completely, you give yourself permission to worry, but only at a specific time. Here's how it works. Choose a time each day, maybe 6 p.m., maybe after dinner. It doesn't matter when, as long as it's consistent and it's not right before bed. This is your worry time. During this 15 or 20 minutes, you allow yourself to think about everything that's bothering you. You can write it down, think it through, analyze it, whatever you need. But here's the key. Outside of that time, when a worry comes up, you gently say to yourself, "Not now. I'll think about this during my worry time." And then you return to the present. What this does is train your mind that it doesn't have to worry constantly. It teaches your mind that there's a time and place for processing concerns, and the rest of the day is for living. At first, your mind will resist. It will say, "But this is urgent. I need to think about it now." But you stay firm. Kind, but firm. "I hear you, but I'll give this my full attention later. Right now, I'm here." Over time, you'll notice something amazing. During your scheduled worry time, many of the things you were going to worry about don't even seem important anymore. They've already resolved themselves, or you realize they weren't worth the mental energy. This tool gives you control. It shows you that you can choose when to engage with worry and when to let it wait. Tool 6. Body scan to release mental tension. Overthinking creates tension in the body. Your shoulders, your jaw, your stomach, your chest, all of these places hold stress when your mind won't stop. A body scan meditation helps you release that tension and brings you back into your body, out of your head. Here's how to do it. Lie down or sit comfortably. Close your eyes. Take 3 deep breaths. Now bring your attention to the top of your head. Notice any tension there. Breathe into it. Let it soften. Slowly move your attention down to your forehead, your eyes, your jaw. Notice. Breathe. Soften. Continue down through your neck, your shoulders, your arms, your hands, then your chest, your belly, your hips, your legs, your feet. Move slowly. There's no rush. This is not about doing it perfectly. It's about being with yourself, noticing where you're holding tension and gently letting it go. When you finish, take 3 more deep breaths. Notice how your body feels. Notice how your mind feels. This practice reminds you that you are not just a thinking machine. You are a body. You are breath. You are sensation. And when you reconnect with your body, the mind naturally quiets. These tools are your freedom. You now have 6 powerful tools, 6 ways to interrupt overthinking and return to peace. You don't need to use all of them. Choose 1 or 2 that feel right for you. Practice them daily. Make them part of your life. Because freedom from overthinking is not something you find once and keep forever. It's something you practice again and again until it becomes natural. And with each practice, you get stronger, you get calmer, you get freer, trusting life instead of analyzing it. There's a question that sits at the heart of overthinking. A question most people never ask out loud, but carry silently within them every single day. Can I trust life? Because if you truly trusted life, if you truly believed that things would work out, that you would be okay, that the universe is not against you, then you wouldn't need to overthink. You wouldn't need to analyze every detail, predict every outcome, control every step. You would simply live. But most people don't trust life. They trust their thinking. They believe that if they think hard enough, plan carefully enough, worry thoroughly enough, then somehow they'll be safe. Somehow they'll avoid pain. Somehow they'll figure it all out. And this is where the deepest suffering lives. Because you cannot think your way to peace. You can only trust your way there. Why you can't think your way to peace? Let's be honest. How much of your overthinking has actually protected you? How many of the disasters you imagined actually happened? How many problems did you solve by lying awake at night, replaying the same scenario 50 times? Very few. Maybe none. Most of what you worry about never comes true. And the things that do happen, the real challenges, the real losses, you handle them. You always have. Not because you thought about them in advance, but because when life asked you to be strong, you were. Overthinking gives you the illusion of control. It makes you feel like you're doing something productive, like you're preparing, like you're being responsible. But in reality, it's just exhausting you. It's keeping you in your head instead of in your life. Buddhist teachings remind us that the mind is a tool, a beautiful, powerful tool. But it's not meant to run constantly. It's not meant to analyze everything. Some things in life are not meant to be understood. They're meant to be experienced, felt, lived. When you meet a sunrise, you don't analyze it. You don't think, why is the sky this color? What does this mean? What will happen next? You simply witness it. You let it touch you. You feel gratitude, awe, presence. That's trust. That's being alive without needing to control everything. And that same trust can be brought into the rest of your life, into your relationships, into your work, into your challenges, into your uncertainty. surrendering the need to know everything. One of the hardest things for the human mind to accept is this: you will never have all the answers. You will never know exactly how things will turn out. You will never predict every outcome. You will never fully understand why certain things happen the way they do. And that's okay. In fact, that's beautiful. Because life is not a puzzle to be solved. It's a mystery to be experienced. When you let go of the need to know everything, when you surrender the exhausting job of trying to figure it all out, something inside you relaxes. A weight lifts. You realize you've been carrying a burden that was never yours to carry. You don't need to know what will happen next year. You don't need to understand why someone hurt you. You don't need to have your entire future planned out perfectly. What you need is to be here now, fully, with trust that this moment, exactly as it is enough. Buddha taught that clinging to certainty is a form of suffering, because life by its very nature is uncertain, and when you cling to something that doesn't exist, you suffer. But when you release that need, when you make peace with uncertainty, you discover a deeper kind of knowing. Not the knowing of the mind, but the knowing of the heart. A quiet inner trust that says, I don't know what's coming, but I trust that I can handle it. And that trust is wiser than any amount of thinking could ever be. Faith in the process of life. Faith is often misunderstood. People think it means believing in something without proof. But in Buddhism, faith is different. It's not blind, it's experiential. It's looking back at your life and recognizing, I've been through hard things before, and I survived. I grew. I learned. I'm still here. That's faith. Faith built on evidence. Evidence from your own life. You've already walked through storms and come out the other side. You've already faced uncertainty and found your way. You've already experienced loss, heartbreak, failure, and yet here you are, still breathing, still trying, still moving forward. That is proof. Proof that life, even when it's painful, even when it's confusing, is not your enemy. It's your teacher. And when you start to see life this way, as a process that's guiding you, shaping you, helping you grow, then you stop fighting it. You stop needing to control every outcome. You stop overthinking every step. You begin to trust the process. You begin to move with life instead of against it. Wisdom versus constant mental calculation. There's a difference between wisdom and overthinking, and understanding this difference can change everything. Wisdom is quiet. It arises naturally when the mind is still. It doesn't come from endless analysis. It comes from deep listening, from intuition, from presence. Overthinking is loud. It's the mind spinning, calculating, trying to force an answer through sheer mental effort. Wisdom says, wait. Listen, the answer will come. Overthinking says, I need to figure this out right now. Wisdom trusts timing. Overthinking fears it. Wisdom knows that some questions don't need immediate answers. Overthinking can't tolerate not knowing. When you're constantly analyzing, constantly thinking, you block wisdom, because wisdom speaks in whispers, and it can't be heard over the noise of an anxious mind. But when you quiet the mind, when you stop forcing, when you create space, wisdom arises. Clarity comes, not from thinking harder, but from thinking less. This is why meditation is so powerful. It's not about getting answers. It's about creating the inner stillness where answers can naturally appear. Intuition speaks when the mind is quiet. You've experienced this before. You've had moments when you just knew something. You didn't know how you knew. You couldn't explain it logically. But deep down you felt it. A quiet certainty. That's intuition. That's the deeper knowing within you that exists beyond thought. But most people ignore it. They override it with overthinking. They say, that doesn't make sense. Let me think about this more. And they think and think and think until they're completely disconnected from what they knew in the first moment. Intuition is not loud, it doesn't argue, it doesn't justify itself. It simply knows, and if you don't listen, it goes quiet. But when you learn to trust it, when you give it space, when you honor that quiet inner voice, your life changes. You make better decisions. You feel more aligned. You stop second-guessing everything. This doesn't mean you abandon all thinking. It means you balance thinking with listening. You use your mind when it's helpful, and you trust your inner knowing when logic isn't enough. Trust is the opposite of overthinking. At the end of the day, overthinking is rooted in fear. Fear that you're not enough. Fear that you'll make a mistake. Fear that life will hurt you. But trust is rooted in love. Love for yourself. Love for life. Love for the journey, even when it's uncertain. When you trust, you let go. When you overthink, you hold on tightly. When you trust, you breathe. When you overthink, you suffocate. When you trust, you live. When you overthink, you only survive. So the question is, which one will you choose today? So here we are. We've walked a long path together today. We've explored the roots of overthinking, understood the monkey mind, learned how to break the cycle, discovered practical tools, and remembered the power of trust. But now comes the most important part. What will you do with all of this? Because knowledge without practice is just information, and information alone doesn't set you free. Only practice does. Only action does. Only the decision to begin, right here, right now. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to master everything we talked about today. You just need to take one small step. Choose one tool, one practice, one moment of awareness. Maybe tonight, before you sleep, you take 5 deep breaths and let your body relax. Maybe tomorrow, when overthinking begins, you pause and say, "I'm overthinking right now," and gently return to the present. Maybe this week, you start a simple walking meditation, just 5 minutes, feeling your feet on the ground. One step. That's all you need, because freedom from overthinking doesn't happen all at once. It happens slowly, quietly, through small daily choices, through returning to presence again and again, through trusting life a little more each day. And I want to remind you of something deeply important. You are not your thoughts. No matter how loud they are, no matter how convincing they seem, no matter how long they've been with you, you are the awareness behind them. You are the calm presence that exists even when the mind is stormy. And that presence, it's always been there. It's always been peaceful. You just forgot how to access it because the noise became too loud. But now you remember. Now you know the way back. Overthinking has stolen enough of your time, your energy, your joy. It has kept you awake at night. It has made simple decisions feel impossible. It has trapped you in your head while life passed by outside. But today, that changes. Today you choose peace. You choose presence. You choose to live instead of just thinking about living. This is not the end of the journey. This is the beginning. And every time you practice, every time you return to the present, every time you let go of the need to control and analyze everything, you are healing, you are growing, you are becoming free. So take a deep breath right now. Feel your chest rise and fall. Notice that you are here, you are alive, you are safe. And in this moment, there is nothing to overthink. There is only life waiting for you to step in fully. If this video helped you, if something here touched your heart, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Leave a comment. Let me know which tool you'll practice first. And remember, peace is not something you find in the future. It's something you return to again and again, right here in the present moment. Thank you for being here. Thank you for walking this path. May you find peace. May you find freedom. May you finally rest.